So anyway, thanks for coming up to Vegas. It's not hard to get people to come here. I'm the founder and CEO, and I'm going to whip through the presentation as quickly as I can. How many have seen this presentation before? I don't know, maybe I'll go through it a little slower then. You're all speed readers. Let's keep going. Good job on that. Just talk about the executive team a little bit here real quick. This is my third company that I have founded and have been put onto the NASDAQ. We took the company public last April onto the NASDAQ. We just had our year anniversary at the AUBSI show, which is the largest unmanned conference last week that was in Orlando, Florida. My previous company was a telecommunications company. I did 6 acquisitions there and ran it for almost 11 years as a public company CEO on the NASDAQ. Learned a lot about the capital markets, which brings us to my CFO, who was with me for 8 years at the last company. So we worked together really well, raised a lot of money together to buy a bunch of companies in the telecommunications world. I finally resigned because I got asked to be CEO of a drone company, which I originally said no to. But I had the drone bug, and I finally resigned from the company that I founded. Called him up. He was semi-retired in Boca and got him back onto the team. He was mad at me for the first year, but now he's actually having a good time. So we work really well. We both know the capital markets. This is his 4th company that he's been a public company CFO. So you got some, most of the company's very young, but you do have at least a couple gray hairs in there. Dr. Evans, who is pretty young, PhD, electrical engineer out of Michigan. He was the founder of Flippy, the joggle company. He has a lot of manufacturing experience, and he became the CEO of Fat Shark, which is the most popular FPV, first-person view, racing model for drones. He ran that company for many years. We acquired them. They were doing about 7 to 10 million in revenue. He typically spends 110 days a year in China at a manufacturing plant. He has a lot of experience for manufacturing, which is becoming key as made in USA drones are becoming huge right now. But we do have some tailwinds, and that pun is intended. And the tailwinds are changing by the day right now. I don't know if anyone saw the article we got mentioned into in the New York Times about we had a bunch of boots on the ground building a logistics line from Poland into the Ukraine. From relationships that we had previously with actually a bunch of racing drones. It's a pretty interesting story of how we're helping there. We've also sold some drones to other NATO countries, and we've got a lot of interest there to get Teal drone, which is our Department of Defense drone. But that's changing daily, and there's lots of demand for drones right now because for warfare now, you're going to use small drones for lots of things. We actually helped disperse that 40-mile convoy using small drones. So that was an interesting thing. Another great thing is also partaking in Ukraine is all the Chinese drone manufacturers, mostly DJI, which is the largest drone manufacturer in the world, has been banned from any federal dollars in the United States. They're put on the entity list, and now it's all Chinese players. And the rules and the bills that are coming out of Congress right now are just becoming better and better and better for U.S. manufacturing because basically all the Chinese drone companies put all of the drone companies that were U.S. made 6 years ago out of business. They built cheap, really great drones, so U.S. manufacturing disappeared. Fast forward to now, we actually need them for the military. Now the states are banning them. Florida's already banned Chinese drones. There's only 5 countries you can buy from, but one of those 5. So we're getting a lot of help from drones being banned. On top of that, there's 3 bills going through Congress. I think there's 2 in the House, 1 from the Senate. They're all agreeing on the same thing. But the one that's very interesting from the House is it said that you can no longer buy Chinese drones. You can no longer renew any contracts. You can't buy any Chinese parts. And the part that's actually been driving some sales towards us is, and you have to ground your existing fleet starting in July 2022. About 3 months after that was announced that that's where they're heading, we got our $90 million contract from the Border Patrol. So, and that's actually turning into a very valuable tool as the NDAA, the National Defense budget, is being built right now for Red Cat. On top of all that, we have the infrastructure bill. So we have 2 kind of hardware platforms. One is for inspections and infrastructure, indoor, inside, closed GPS denied locations. It's in a little cave. We'll get to it in a second. And then we think that the infrastructure bill that went through, there's about 617,000 bridges, we're told, that need to be fixed, which means they need to be inspected. 3 million miles of sewer, which are broken, that need to be fixed. We're one of the only companies that can actually do sewer inspections. So we think once that money, we think that's a 2023 story, but once that money is loosened up, we think our inspection business will do well. And also, we are one of the 5 original companies that can actually sell to the Department of Defense. So as we're talking about some of the inspection, people say, how big is that market? The existing market is $21 billion. That's not drone inspections, but that's the inspection space where you have to actually inspect stuff like bridges and sewers and that nature. Everyone's migrated to drone inspection. It's less expensive, it's safer, it's cheaper, it's faster. So we expect to get a big chunk of this market. Military applications. I mean, it's in the news every single day what's going on in Ukraine. It's great that we have an original set we announced about a couple weeks ago that we have 15 drones that are going to a NATO country. Those folks have been getting trained as of this Monday. I think training stops tomorrow, and then those original 15 drones will be heading into the Ukraine. What's very interesting is that small drones, they call them short-range reconnaissance, to be very important to just basically see what's over that hill, what's behind those trees. We have thermals. So we have one of the only drones that actually has thermal on it in the payload. So we're becoming very valuable in real life, and soon we'll probably have about 15 drones from the Teal Drones subsidiary. They're going to be battle tested, which is rare to be able to say that. We've done 4 acquisitions. Fat Shark is the goggle company I mentioned earlier. Spectrasonic is the inspection company. Rotor Riot is basically a media company, but they also make drones, and those are the drones that were mentioned in the New York Times article today. Then we have Teal Drones, which focuses mostly on federal dollars and state dollars, not only here, but the equivalent of in NATO countries also. So we'll start with Fat Shark. So it's actually drone racing is actually televised nationally, and you can actually bet on it through DraftKings. It's where Fat Shark started and its focus, and also in freestyle drone. Every single drone pilot that you see is wearing Fat Shark goggles. And if you look at the article that was from today, or if you saw us on Fox News live from Ukraine last week, I think it was, everyone was wearing our goggles. They're the best goggle in the space. It gives you the first-person view of what's in that drone. So you're basically it looks like you're the fighter pilot inside these little drones that are this big, but it's the easiest way to fly a drone accurately and fast. So for drone racing, they go about 120 miles an hour, they do flips, they can go through a basketball hoop at 80 miles an hour, not hit the ground. So what's exciting about this is we've been talking to a lot of people. This is nothing new, but we've got a brand new digital goggle. We're switching from an analog platform to a digital platform, and this new goggle is going to be very, very exciting. We're on track soon, and they've had some really great product refreshes. This is the biggest product refresh that Fat Shark has ever done. It's very timely right now for us. The only bad part about that is actually the last quarter and a half have been horrible because no one's buying Fat Shark goggles because they know a new one's coming, very similar to not buying an iPhone in August when you know the new one's coming out in September. But we expect we have a weird year. Our year end just ended. We just started our new year. We have an April year end. But we are pretty excited that Fat Shark will be helping us in Q1 and Q2 get back to their more normal levels of revenue. This is the Skycopter.
What's like the average price?
They're about $600. Yeah.
The new one as well too.
What's that?
The new one coming out as well.
We haven't announced pricing yet. It'll probably be around there. But it's an incredible goggle. I've seen it. The Skycopter here, this is a protected drone. used for inspections. Typically, when you see inspections at like cell sites, you don't want to have open blades that can cut cables, things of that nature. This can go into tunnels. We've actually done a ton of work with GM to help them build their program for their indoor inspections. We've also done some very interesting things in Italy. We actually share an office with the defense contractor Leonardo in turn. It's an Italian-based company, but they're actually not even a hardware company. They're mostly a software company. They build AI and cloud-based services. But their biggest thing that they've really done is two things. One, they've got a patent for GPS-denied flying. When you don't have a GPS, it's very difficult to fly a drone, so we've solved that, and we've received that patent. And we have a patent pending right now, and this is really crucial for the entire drone industry, is removing the one drone to one pilot ratio that kills every drone program that's out there. So let me explain. So I'll use cell site inspection because we do a lot of work with those folks. Typical pilot can do 2 to 3 cell site inspections a day using the drone. If you use remote piloting, you can have one pilot sitting at headquarters and just be basically using Uber to fly drones around and drop them off at cell sites. He could fly 20 to 25 missions. So your biggest cost of any drone program is always the pilot. So if you can break that 1-to-1 ratio, you change the exact business model. And now we're actually heading, which I'll talk a little bit about swarm near the end, is when you go from one to many. And you can start taking a bunch of drones to do a task. You have so many drones, you can do it very, very quickly. So there's software, the remote software. We were at our trade show last week, was in Orlando. It's the largest unmanned show. And we had actually a drone inside a test site in Italy, and you could fly it live from the show. You came in at certain times, you could go right to the booth and try to fly it. So that software is working really well. RotorRide. Seems like a weird acquisition. This was our first acquisition. They're basically a media company. They do a YouTube episode every Monday. It comes out around 11. They've never missed in like 4 years. They have about 250,000 subscribers to that YouTube channel. About half of them are commercial pilots. But if you want to launch a product, like one of our biggest competitors, DJI, the Chinese company that we're all fighting against, I think they've sponsored about 15 episodes to launch product. So this is a great media platform to generate sales leads. We've never used it ourselves to generate sales leads. But when we start launching some new products, we will actually use this platform. And we've got some of the best pilots in the world. They're called RotorRide pilots. They're sponsored by RotorRide. And most of them actually aren't racing much these days because they're all on movie sets. Almost every chase scene that you see right now coming out of Hollywood, probably done by that guy, the fastest pilot on the planet. So they're all like flying around the globe, actually doing big action movies because drones are so much less expensive. They're small. They can literally go underneath the car. You can't do that with a helicopter. And it also gives us access to their network of pilots. This is where a lot of the activity comes around right now just because Department of Defense and drones is a really hot item right now. Like I said, in December 2020, DJI got put on the Entity List, and ever since that happened with the U.S. government, the bans have grown even larger. And now all the NATO countries are actually following right behind the United States. Same thing starting to happen at a state level. Florida has banned all Chinese drones. They have to start grounding their fleets. I think we've talked to almost all 67 sheriff's counties since that was announced in January. So we're going to have some, we think the total addressable market for Florida is about 1,500 drones need to be replaced that are Chinese right now. Our drones cost $14,800. So we're pretty excited about where we're going with that. But on top of that, there's so many different things that are happening in the space. There's some really big contract that's been going on in the drone space, what we call SRR. And that's the short range reconnaissance drones. Tranche 1 was about 2 years ago. They awarded 5 prototype contracts for the Department of Defense for the Army. Teal Drones, one of our subsidiaries, won one of the prototype contracts. They awarded 1 production contract to Skydio. It was just actually announced in February of this year because it was closed for COVID. but they want a $100 million contract for production. Every tranche 1, tranche 2, and tranche 3, get prototype contracts, and then one of those people chosen for the prototype contracts get the production contract. We didn't even have a production facility during tranche 1. So tranche 2, we actually announced a couple months ago. We knew we were chosen last November. We're glad that it didn't leak. But tranche 2 only has 2 people that won the prototype contract. They've told us many times that tranche 2 will probably be larger than tranche 1. So we have, at the current state, we have a 50-50 chance to get that tranche 2 contract. Then there'll be tranche 3, and this is a very large program. The goal of the the SRR program is to put 2 drones in every Army rucksack. So, and then have a controller for that. So we've been making some great progress with this. Ever since the Ukraine war started, the interest in drones has gone through the roof, not just for us, but anyone that's making U.S.-made drones. We actually doubled the size of our facility in Salt Lake City, where we're building the Golden Eagle. Recently, they're in construction right now. We just started ramping the scale of the Golden Eagle. We had our full production month was April, and everything's on track with what Teal's doing right now. We're pretty excited about that. Some other things that if you want to dig into this, and we have the presentation available. I'm not going to walk you through all of these, but these are all the different things that by having this approval from the Blue SUAS group, all the way to, you can go look us up on the GSA, which is actually pretty important, so that people can just order it off the GSA. We're not allowed to change our pricing, so if you want to buy a drone, it's $14,800. A few more on some of the deals that we've got. I kind of walked through these already. We also mentioned that we just shipped to some NATO countries. We also Rotoride also went over to Ukraine. It's actually doing racing drones over there. So there's all sorts of different things that drones are going to be doing in this conflict/war, whatever you want to call it. So to put the bookends on here, and that's some other things I didn't really mention because there's so much going on in the space the last few weeks, is that we are very well financed. We got about $56 million in the bank. Our burn on the last quarter that we announced was $2.5 million. You can see that we have a very, very long runway if we don't have any new revenue. But the way I'll put it is almost all of our burn is coming from Teal. And when we closed on Teal late last year, we doubled the size of our engineering team. So now we really have a fully loaded cost of owning Teal without any of the revenue, which is not fun. Now that we have the production facility done and ramping, you'll see that burn go away. To be very frank, it's almost all burn that's coming from the Teal facility. So now they're growing and the demand is there. I think you're going to see that Teal will sell every drone that it makes. I think that the other 1 or 2 U.S. manufacturers will also probably sell every drone that they make. And I was able to blast through that, so we hopefully get some questions. That's the fun part.
As your military application, what are you doing against, how do you go against Ninja or any counter-small UAS, SEOs or SEALs or anything like that? Are you doing frequency hopping or decryption?
Oh, well, you're required to be able to get approved and get audited. We have to use the radios that the DoD has made us use.
Okay.
There's a certain brand that is allowed to actually be used as encrypted. It's unlike the DJI drones that are out there. Also, I don't know if anyone's read what's happening over there, but they bought a bunch of DJI drones to try to help do this at the beginning of the war. And they started to use some of these drones to try to do this short-range recon. And the DJI has this program that they gave to the Russians where they can determine where the pilot is, who's piloting it, and we actually have some live footage of it. He survived, turned the drone on. As soon as he turned it on, within about 30 seconds, a missile came within about 30 yards of him.
So how do you defeat that?
Well, they don't have a special secret sauce from the Chinese to detect where our guys are. We're encrypted, We're not using like Wi-Fi, to do this, and it's encrypted to the TAC, the controller. But we're mostly just doing recon, and we can actually do GPS denied capabilities too if they're doing GPS jamming. I can't explain to you how that we do that, but we not only with our inspection drone we do GPS denied, but the Teal Golden Eagle also does GPS denied flying.
And on the Teal stuff, do you concentrate all on low RCS or do you not?
I can't quite hear you.
Low RCS.
I don't even know what that is.
Random cross section. How do you do on your military application? How do you hide or reduce the visibility of the drones?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we're looking at right now, because as we're looking at other groups that want to use the Teal Golden Eagle, but you got a TAC that's flashing a screen, which can make you an easy target. They can just see that. The goggles that we make are assembled in China, so we can't use those. But they are the best goggles. They have the least amount of light emitting from them. If we wanted to make a version of that here, we probably could do it. But having a controller is an issue because people can just see that. It's very easy to see. So you have to try to hide that as best you can.
Jeff, 15 drones that are going to Ukraine. Is there a follow-up in that contract before we go at some point in the future?
So let me just say this. We had a very exciting week at AUVSI, and I will just say that one of the NATO countries that we've already sold drones to is probably going to put in a pretty significant order in the magnitude of hundreds very soon.
What are the gross margins on those drones today?
They're currently, without scale, about 38%, but even once we get manufacturing ramped up, it won't break 40. We'll get a point and a half maybe by getting a little bit better scale. We have got some better pricing now that we can put large orders in for our chipsets. In our supply chain, we already have about 3,700 chipsets. We think with our yields, that'll result in us being able to make about 3,500 drones with that chipsets that we already have on the way. And we've got to continue to keep that supply chain moving from there. But on the margin side, just to kind of back up a little bit, so the goal has been, I've actually talked to probably 12 to 15 of the software companies that are in the drone space here in the U.S. Almost no one has more than $1 million in revenue. And there's a lot of reasons for that. They usually do their revenue based on the DJI drone. And DJI does not usually release the SDK, the developer kit, 1 year after they release a drone. So they get a head start and get all that revenue instead of the people here writing code for it. That happens left and right. And now, like some of the bigger software companies in the space, now have to redo their business model because they've been building for public safety in Florida, Texas, everywhere, mostly on the Mavic drone from DJI. So now that's going away, so they're going to need another platform to put their software on there. So the business model for Red Cat has been, let's get our platform out there and distribute it into the government, federal dollars. We have our inspection drone, we have our military style drone, and then now we can start layering some software companies on top of that. We've been very acquisitive in the last year. You'll continue to see us be more acquisitive and layering, but most of the acquisitions that you see now will be software companies on top of the platform.
How competitive are you guys? We all know AeroVironment at the large scale. Like between that and you guys, who's doing this?
Yeah, I've got 3 or 4 people from AeroVironment working my biz dev right now. To give you some comparison on the Puma drone, it's been around forever. There's a Boston accent kick over there. It's been around forever. It costs $527,000. It has the exact same payload as the Teal Golden Eagle. You could buy 40 Golden Eagles for the price of one Puma. They've had a line item forever in the budget, so they just got to order for $300 million worth of those. Complete waste of money at that price. It's old, it's antiquated. It's been a great drone for a long time, but it was ready and available to them, and they're used to buying it as a contract vehicle to get them. It'd be much smarter for them to be buying Golden Eagles, and you get 40 viewpoints instead of one viewpoint in the same exact payload. So we do compare very well with them. They're not good at building some, $500,000 vehicles, and we can.
You said you have night vision, thermal imaging
Yep.
on these cameras?
Yes, we do. That's another interesting thing. So, some of the companies that are participating in the tranche 2, or actually tranche 1, one was very good at autonomy, and the tranche contract is for the Army. So tranche 1, there was one company that's really good at autonomy, and then Teal's really good at flying at night. The Army's telling us we prefer to be able to fly the drone ourselves. We don't care about the autonomy. It's good to have it, but we do most of our missions at night, and your system can work at night. So. Any more questions? Everyone wants to go gamble? Great, thanks everybody, appreciate it.